This is the Guns Magazine podcast, episode number 68. Hi there, and welcome to the Guns Magazine podcast. I'm your host and the editor of Guns Magazine, Brent T. Thanks for joining us as we talk to the interesting people who make up the world of shooting, hunting, and the firearms industry. Before we get started, let's talk about our sponsor, Berger Bullets. Berger builds match-grade rifle bullets and ammunition for target, hunting, and tactical shooting applications. Proudly made in Mesa, Arizona, Berger uses the highest quality materials, tooling, and production processes to produce the world's most accurate bullets and ammunition. Berger is unequaled by the competition and has established more long-range world records than all other manufacturers combined. To find out why our nation's elite operators, competitive shooters, and hunters all trust Berger to shoot better, visit your favorite retailer to experience Berger's uncompromising quality or learn more at bergerbullets.com. Okay, let's admit it. Recoil is real and it affects nearly everyone. The quote-unquote kick of a gun is one of the most noteworthy yet seldom discussed factors in shooting. Unfortunately, guys in particular are loath to admit recoil affects them, so today we're going to talk about this dirty little secret. In this episode, we're talking to Boyd Metz, Sales and Marketing Director of HSM Ammo. Boyd is a longtime hunter, shooter, and industry insider who talks to us about recoil, recoil management strategies, and how HSM's low-recoil rifle ammo can help reduce the kick. Now let's talk to Boyd Metz. Well, good afternoon, Boyd.
Hi, Brent. How are you?
Well, it's really good weather to stay indoors and talk about our topic of the day, which is recoil and recoil management. Boyd, you are the Director of Sales and Marketing at HSM Ammo. Let me get that out. And you make a line of low recoil ammo, so we felt like you might know a thing or two about the entire concept of recoil. So I think most everybody knows what recoil is, but is there a technical definition beside kick?
Well, for every action, there's an equal reaction, I guess is the simplest thing. And when you fire a gun, it sends the projectile down the barrel. And there's a force going down the barrel that in turn comes back through the gun, through the action, the metal, into the wood, into the plastic, and is absorbed by the body, whether it be a cannon, a handgun, or a rifle, and whether it be whatever the caliber might be. But it's the same thing. You see in the movies, you see the cannon being shot and it recoils and jumps on the wheels and everything. And the guns do the same thing. And Bill Campbell, by the way, Bill and Catherine Campbell started the company. Currently, it's operated. Bill's still active in the company, but his son Travis is our main man in the company. And but Bill, like myself, is older, and he said, I don't like the recoil, but I want to shoot something other than a 22 or a Hornet or a 222. He elk hunts, and he said, I want to shoot a 7 mag or something.
Yeah.
It just abuses me. So he has a friend in the industry who is he's an engineer who now works for one of the leading companies in our industry of both ammunition and guns. And they got to talking about it. And this man's real technical engineer gave Bill an indication of what he thought could happen if we reduced velocity, reduced the loads, that quite possibly we could reduce the recoil. Well, that was fine, but one of the concerns has been, if you've looked over the years with low recoil ammunition, there's been other attempts at it, but they've always cheated and lowered the bullet weight.
Mm-hmm.
And by lowering the bullet weight, they kind of compensated. We came to the conclusion that in hunting, particularly with deer and most of the animals on the North American continent here, are shot at 100 yards or less. So if we could build a round that was effective at 250 yards and reduce the felt recoil, the rifle coming back and hitting you or pushing you, whichever you want to call it. If we could do that and make it still perform, there would be a market for it. So with the help of Sierra, Pat Daly, the president at the time, we sat down and talked with him and told him what we wanted to do, that we needed a bullet that would perform out to 250 yards and give us expansion in a bracket of velocities. Went to work on it, and Tom, this individual I mentioned earlier, said, give me muzzle velocity, give me what you have as a rifle weight, which enters into it also, and let's see what we can do with felt recoil. So we started to play with the loads while maintaining the same bullet weights. In the 243s, we use 85 grain bullets. In the 270s, we use 130 grain bullets. And the same with the 308s and the 30-06 and the 300s. We use 150 grain bullets, 7 millimeters, using 140. So we didn't reduce the bullet weight. We did reduce the velocity, and yet we were able to maintain surprisingly good accuracy. And with the design help from Sierra, they came up with a bullet that we use that performs very well in gel out to 250. It actually performs beyond that, but we recommend 250 yards. End result, massive reduction. We had some, and we didn't publish this. We picked a number to say how much we reduced recoil, and we say 50%, and that's pretty much across the board. We had some of the calibers that we reduced the recoil while maintaining a good muzzle velocity and bullet performance as much as 74%, Brent.
Wow.
As evidenced by a couple of our customers have been young teenage girls. And one in particular is in our catalog, shot her first deer, a nice big muley. The 243 seems to be the favorite of the little people, I call them. And although one did shoot it this year, shoot their first deer with the 270 low recoil. So basically, we've tried and been successful in our mind to develop a user-friendly product.
And you have, and I've shot it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. You've kind of touched on the ways that recoil affects shooters, but you told me before we got started, recoil and accuracy go hand in hand. Talk about how it affects shooters overall.
Well, this may be a little corny, but I wrote down the reason we shoot and hunt is to hit a target, whether it's a piece of paper or an animal. Like golf, you play to hit the hole. Baseball, you play to hit the gap. Football, you play to hit the receiver. And racing, you race to go over the finish line. So it's a deal where you're looking for an end result. And I said accuracy is performance at the highest level. So with that thought and mission, we build ammo for those results. So we didn't lose sight of the fact that, hey, yeah, it'd be nice if it didn't kick you so bad, but if it shoots a 4-inch group, forget it. We have, fortunately, the velocity ranges that we've developed this ammunition in and the projectiles from Sierra have allowed us, this stuff is really surprisingly accurate. You've seen some of the people that have shot it. I don't know if any of your team has done any of the testing and shooting through the various rifles. But, in the calibers that we make it, not only have we been able to reduce the velocity, as I said, and maintain the standard bullet weights, but we have a really accurate product. I've shot personally with a 243. Well, no, that's wrong. I shot personally with a 243 2 deer, and this past season I shot 2 with a 6.5 Creedmoor low recoil. I shot 2 at a time, well, they were does, and, we're allowed to shoot more than one in Kansas. You can get 5 permits for does. I had 2 permits, shot the first doe at 140 yards. Second doe was 276 yards. And both of them, when I hit them, were one-shot kills. The first one was all right. The second one was running, so didn't get it till the third shot. But boom, good performance, good bullet placement, which you attribute to the accuracy factor, and overall good good bullet performance. And that's what we strive for. I've been kind of a pain in the tush over the years about accuracy. I tell the guys, don't talk about any of our products unless you use that word someplace in your conversation or your copy. Because that truly is, and I'm reiterating, but that truly is the reason behind it all. I mean, very few people just go out there to hear bang. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're shooting at a 8-inch iron steel plate, or I was a small bore shooter, and shooting at a 1-inch circle at 100 yards. Accuracy is the factor.
Well, when we're talking about the effects of recoil on people, a lot of guys, especially guys, will say, recoil doesn't bother me at all. Your thoughts?
Liar, liar, pants on fire, is what my mother used to say. It does. And if you stand and watch people, the majority of shooters will have a tendency to flinch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless they're seasoned shooters, competitive shooters, but you're buy the box of ammo, go out, get ready for deer season, I guarantee you he's going to twitch. And when he twitches, you and I both know you take a 100-yard piece of pipe and you move it 2 inches from where you're at. How many inches and I don't know the math, but how many inches does it move at 100 yards?
Mm-hmm.
A whole bunch. So, but I think it's just a macho thing. And it became more evident when we got the female shooters and hunters and the kids into it. It just, I think we realized that if we're going to expand our customer base, we want new shooters and new hunters, primarily in our case, but it has to be a product that's user friendly. So, hello, here we are. And I think that we've been pretty successful with it. The reviews are good. The performance of the product is good. Brent, as far as guys saying whether they're, I'm 6'4" and I weigh 250 pounds, and I don't like to be beat up. I mean, it's simple as that. I can stand up there offhand, and the body absorbs pretty well, and the recoil pads. Everybody's come out with recoil reducing pads and so on and so forth, but it still slaps you around, and you really have to be experienced and concentrate to find yourself not flinching.
Well, I've got this theory after having taught both men and women together separate. I think women aren't more sensitive to recoil. I think they're just more honest. If they're more than happy to say that kind of hurt, whereas a guy, he's walking away discreetly rubbing his shoulder. That didn't bother me at all. But women will just say, yeah, that hurts. I don't like that.
Well, one of our customers, one of the children, they upgraded, the little girl upgraded from a 243 to a 270. She got the gun last Christmas. So her dad, who's a longtime acquaintance of mine, said I took her out with the 270. And he'd called me and said, can I try a box of your low recoil? And I said, sure. So took her out. He had a regular box of premium hunting ammunition. She sat down on the bench. They had zeroed the scope, bore sight of the scope. Sit down on the bench and boom. She turned around to his dad. Honest to God's truth, she turned around to her dad and said, don't you have any of that low recoil ammo, Dad? And he gave her a box, pulled the box out, and gave it to her. She said, Dad, don't give me any of that other stuff. So, yes, the children and the women are honest about it. The guys, they don't want to say, oh, Brent, you're a wimp. You can't shoot that 375 H&H, but it doesn't matter if it's that or a 30-06 or a 308. You get above 22 caliber rifles, and they're painful. I prairie dog hunt. I use a 19 caliber single shot bolt action rifle. It's the what we call the 19 HSM,
mm-hmm.
and they're custom built. We'd like to see somebody get them into production. The rifles, we make ammunition for ourselves at this point. Interesting, and a side. It's based on a 30 carbine case, neck down to 19. Sierra was good enough to run 20 caliber bullets through a sizing die, so we have 19 caliber bullets. But it's just the most pleasant thing. I shoot 300 rounds a day, 400 rounds a day, no discomfort. no loss of trigger control. And that's the other thing. The recoil has such lasting results, or beyond just the fact that they squint or they lift their head off the stock. They get lousy trigger control.
Yep.
They jerk it. It's almost like they're afraid to pull the trigger. And then they think, well, I have to pull the trigger, and boom, they jerk on it. So, yeah, male machoism, and I don't know that that's a word, but you've seen it if you've worked with guys enough, and particularly with the shotguns.
Oh, yeah.
That's where it's glaring. A lot of people, haven't shot 308s or 30-06s, but they have shot a shotgun, and boy, it's a red flag to good shooting habits.
And you're an experienced hunter shooter. I think people sometimes don't understand, at least this is my belief, that your recoil sensitivity can change from day to day, from hour to hour. When you first get out to the range and you're, feeling full of it, and, you can shoot a bunch and it doesn't bother me at all. But at the end of the day, you're completely wore out. You've been, humping up and down the mountains, and, you're cold and you're hungry and dehydrated. That's the moment when man, this gun hurts me when I shoot. And that's when these things you were talking about, making the bad shots, tend to happen.
Well, if you're thinking about it, you're going to make a bad shot.
Yeah.
And the reason you think about it is from a previous experience.
Yep.
It's a memory recall thing. And, it's like shooting a handgun. We talk about, muscle memory. You get to the point that you don't have to look at the gun or the holster to put it away or to get it out. It's muscle memory. Your hand knows where to go. Your arm knows how to extend. And the mind knows that when you pull the trigger, the gun's going to recoil. And once you've had a scope eyebrow,
yes,
I've seen so many, and I mean experienced guys come off the range. And granted, it happens primarily when you're on a bench trying to zero a rifle. It's not as prevalent standing up offhand and shooting it. But that just adds to the factor in the mind that, ooh, Jesus, am I firing? Particularly if you're out hunting and you lay down in the prone position, or you're resting and your cheek creeps a little bit forward on the stock. Do you lift your face off? But all of those thoughts are precipitated by the recoil factor.
Mm-hmm. And it can happen to anybody. I ran a story about a year ago in Guns where Wayne Van Zwal was talking about scope bite and things like that. And, Wayne's Wayne, he's been there, done that everywhere. But he included a photo of, it was a trophy shot, and I forget, it was a deer or something. But if you look real closely, he's got blood trickling down from between his eyes because he took the shot, he made the shot, but he got too far down on the rifle, and it recoiled heavy and came back and got him. Yeah. So, it can happen to anybody.
Right. I mean, the thing that we all have to remember is that shooting is a wonderful sport. And, a sport's something you're supposed to enjoy.
Yep.
And if you don't enjoy it, why do it? I don't think that makes any sense to go out. If you're afraid of getting beat up, don't go out. So don't get in that boxing ring with somebody if you're afraid of getting punched.
Yeah. Well, and this is the perfect place to insert something I've talked about quite a bit before. It makes me insane when, and I don't think I've ever seen this in person, but I've seen it on YouTube dozens and dozens of times, where typically a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, he gives his girlfriend a 12-gauge pump loaded with slugs and tells her to keep the butt plate, 2 or 3 inches away from her shoulder, and she gets pummeled terribly, and occasionally see it with pistols too. And they use recoil as a vicious practical joke, and all they're doing is destroying a future shooter. I don't understand why people think that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, all the new people, 7, 8 million, however many, coming into our sport, to welcome them with abuse seems an absolute lack of wisdom on the part of anybody.
Exactly.
You want to encourage them, and the abuse and the pain does not encourage them. If you're going to do that and make a sight poor example out of, unsightly poor example out of.
Yep. Well, we've talked about the HSM low recoil ammo. That's a great way to mitigate felt recoil. But what are some of the other ways, aside from just using that ammo, what are some of the other things folks can do to make their experience, especially shooting rifles, a little more pleasant?
Well, I think one of the most important things is determining what you're going to use it for. And once you make that determination, is buying a rifle in a caliber that suits what you want to use it for. I mean, there is certainly no need, in my mind, to buy a 300 Win Mag to go for the average person to go deer hunting.
Yeah.
That just makes no sense. When a 243 or even a 270 is a step up, will do the job and has done the job for years and years and years. So I think product selection is important. And that kind of falls, if they have no one else to depend on, they need to turn to the likes of your publications and do a little reading, a little research. And this generation has so many benefits to do research.
Yeah.
With the internet and everything. But I think picking, once again, we're back to what I said earlier, picking the golf club that works best for you. And I don't golf, FYI.
It's a waste of a perfectly good rifle range.
I agree completely. But I think just picking the right equipment is paramount to enjoying the sport. It's just like the situation now. So many people are scrambling for guns, and the guy walks into the gun store and it's almost empty. So he goes over and lo and behold, there's a 454 Casull, a box of ammo, 454 Casull box of ammo. So he picks up the box. Wow, I got a box of ammo. And he goes up to the counter and he says to the guy says, "Can I help you?" And he said, "Yeah, I want a gun this fits in."
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether the clerk's going to say, "Sir, do you realize that's a pretty big revolver and it recoils a lot? Maybe you should look at a 9mm or a 38 or something of that nature. Let's see if we can find something that's more suitable for you." So that's the key, is picking the right equipment and knowing that it'll work for you. I mean, it has to do the thing that you want. Yeah, if you're going to Africa, you want your 375 H&H or your 458.
Yep.
The guides down there will be real pleased to see you with that.
Well, I think that's one of the beauties of the 6.5 Creedmoor is it's a very accurate round, but it's also notable for not real punishing recoil. And I think that's why that combination has maybe been lowered the bar to entry a little bit for beginning long-range shooters, because they can shoot an accurate round that doesn't beat them up so bad. Absolutely.
And that's why we developed the low recoil round in it. It became so popular. One of the major gun manufacturers, rifle manufacturers, that I talked with says that the 6.5 Creedmoor, in their particular situation, is their number 3 largest selling rifle.
Yeah. Which
just amazed me to no end. I won't deny that. I didn't think that there was that much of it. But, once again, I guess we might as well broach this touchy subject for all of us now. Ammo is difficult to come by.
I was going to ask.
I figured you were, and I have it all in my basement, Brent. I have tractors and trailer loads.
You're the guy.
I'm the single guy. It's gotten to the point where, for not just us, but for any number of the ammo manufacturers, it's almost embarrassing that we can't supply the market. We're in business, and we're in business to make money. And sure enough, if we don't have anything to sell, we don't make money.
Yeah.
And the people, the conspiracy theorists that do Boyd's hoarding it, they're hiding it and putting it in bunkers. They don't understand. We need to build ammunition and sell it.
Yeah.
And what has happened in the ammunition business, like you and I spoke about earlier, has carried over into the component business. And everybody's buying and hoarding. And it's the toilet paper syndrome all over again.
Exactly.
I don't know what else to say. The toilet paper towel, hand sanitizer. It's the same syndrome. The market, was not prepared for the demand. And if you walk into your local grocery store, there's still some problems buying certain items. And are people hoarding? Yeah, I guess I did. Early on, I thought, oh my gosh, and buy an extra pack here, buy an extra pack there. And it was one of those deals that carries over into the ammunition thing. You didn't buy the product that you liked and you were familiar with. You just bought anything. Exactly. And I'm guilty of it too. The 454 Kasul gun story.
Yep.
You're not buying something that you really need or can use. You're just buying something.
We are the people our parents warned us about.
There you go again. Yeah. You're so very right. But with regard to it all, we are producing. We have a number of product lines, handgun ammunition, rifle ammunition. We've been very successful with the Trophy Gold line, which is our premium using Berger Bullets. You spoke of them earlier. They make a wonderful product and been around forever and ever. We are using the new Sierra bullet. Actually, we loaded it and put it into the hands of the consumer before Sierra come out with their own loaded ammunition line. The Game Changer ammunition, it's worked very well. And I did shoot a deer with that also. And good performing ammunition. And we do a lot of cast bullet work. Fortunately, we have our own supply and operation for that. But our bear loads have been very successful. I don't know, there's been some stories out there about it over the years, but 4570, the guides in Alaska just love our bear load.
Yeah.
That's a gas-checked heavy bullet that penetrates, and the Alaskan guides know that the bears like to eat people. So bad for business to have your client devoured by a bear. But,
no repeat business.
No repeat business out of that. But that's some of the product line. And the company's been in business. There's a lot of startups and there's a lot of old companies. Gosh, this is year 52. So I said, Bill Campbell started this thing and grew this thing. And we have 52 years of experience. And we've preached and waved the flag to my favorite word. It's called accuracy. I'll go back to it again. But that word carries over into any sport. And it's extremely important to the shooting sport.
Exactly.
Did I answer any of your questions as I ramble on here?
You hit them all. And then we have to ask the most important question at the end. And how can folks find out more about all that great HSM ammo?
If you go to hsmunitions.com, that's hsmunitions.com, you can get a good story on all of our products. And there's YouTube. If you go into YouTube, there's a number of YouTube videos. Some of them, there's one that shows what happens. They did an overlay of recoil and shot the 300 Win Mag and videoed, and then shot our low recoil in a 300 Win Mag and showed the difference in the height of the muzzle raise. And so that's everyone is very fortunate. As I said, the internet's a great tool. I guess, the old adage, it must be true it's on the internet, has been abused, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. So they can go on there and they find it on our website, the information, and some testimonials. Last year, the guy with the 44 Magnum was attacked by the bear in Montana, had a hold of his leg, gave it a round of our bear load, and a couple more rounds as it let go of his leg and was getting away. And he hobbled and got away. And then the next day they found the bear dead.
Wow.
And he said, had he not had that gun and that ammunition, he didn't think he'd have made it.
Well, that's serious business. I was going to make a quip about being attacked by beer. I've had that happen before, but
a friend of mine said that on a good day he spilt more than I drank.
Oh my! So. Well, okay. Well, Boyd, we appreciate you taking time to talk to us about recoil and the HSM ammo. I've used it. It to my Mark I uncalibrated shoulder, it seems to work pretty good. and it's very accurate. So if folks are interested in that, they ought to check that out. So, well, the weather's not gotten any better since we've been talking, but at least I can commit journalism. You need to go back to the factory and like crank the machine up to 110%. Crank it up to 11.
We're cranking, as I said, it's like an automobile and gasoline. They don't run without gas, and we don't run without components.
Yep.
So it's not an easy thing. Hey, thank you for your time and your questions and all your good remarks about our product. And to all your listeners out there, thank you for your support. And we're trying to fill the shelves, so don't forget about us.
Hey, and we know you are. I'm joking. So thanks for talking to us, Boyd.
Thank you, Brent. Take care now. Be safe.
It was a kick in the pants talking to Boyd Metz of HSM Ammo, but hopefully it will help reduce the kick in your shoulder. And with that, we hope you're enjoying the Guns Magazine podcast. Please tell all your friends, even those ununifying liberals. Guns Magazine was first in the business, and we're using our decades of friendships to bring you the most interesting chats in the gun world. If you've got questions or comments about the show, please email me. That's editor@gunsmagazine.com. Make sure you don't miss out on anything by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast catcher, YouTube, and of course at gunsmagazine.com. While you're online, don't forget to check out our great sister publication, American Handgunner Magazine at americanhandgunner.com. We'd also appreciate it if you'd share a favorite episode or some kind words on your own social media. And finally, we'd like to remind you to check out our sponsor, the guys and gals who really know accuracy at Berger Bullets. Learn more at bergerbullets.com. That's it for this episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. For the entire staff at FMG Publications, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent T. Now get out there and get shooting.